Hey guys, Brian here again, and welcome to another tutorial where I don't show you the perfect way to do things, but the way that I do them. Today we're going to be customizing our prompt for ZSH, and that's the thing over on the left here, the prompt that shows you different kinds of information. And with ZSH, we've got the ability to theme our prompt and give us all sorts of different information that are useful to have just at a glance on every command that you're issuing. So last tutorial, we installed oh-my-zsh, the kind of framework, plugin manager, config manager for ZSH. And that comes with a ton of different themes, and you can feel free to experiment with those and see which ones you might like from there. They're great to use. You can customize them. If you find one you like and you just want to tweak it a little bit, that's totally easy to do. But what I'm going to talk about today is a theme called Power Level 9K, and this is the theme that I like to use for my ZSH prompt. So they've got a GitHub page here, and we can check it out and see some of the ability that we've got with this theme. And I like it because it's got a lot of flexibility and it's really easy to configure and provides a lot of out-of-the-box stuff that's really useful. So you can see here the default configuration that it gets you set up with and the prompt that you're left with. So first things first, let's check out how to install this. And thankfully it's very easy to install Power Level 9K. And what we want to do is go to the Install Power Level 9K theme. Because we already installed the nerd fonts in the last video, we don't have to worry about any of the font issues with Power Level 9K. We've got that all installed already. We've got oh-my-zsh installed, so we can just follow the option number 2 given here. And all we're doing here is cloning a Git repository into the directory where custom themes are stored for oh-my-zsh. So let's copy that and come back to our terminal and clone that repository. Great, now that's all done, and we can go ahead and set the theme in our ZSHRC file. So if we come back to our terminal, you can open up the .zshrc file in any text editor you want. I'm going to be using Vim. We can see that we've got a theme here that's set for the ZSH theme. And actually, one thing to note that I actually saw before, if you'll notice, and it probably happened in my last videos, the equal sign is actually not here. I noticed that this is a bug with the Firecode nerd font, but nerd font has another font very similar. It's actually pretty much the same, I believe, that they list as Mono. And for whatever reason, that seems to work properly. So if we select the Mono nerd font medium, we can see that the font's changed a little bit. It's generally the same, but now we have the equal sign. I think from some searching online, it seems like it might be a bug with GNOME Terminal as well as a few other ones. But anyway, just switching from Firecode to Mono seems to fix that problem. Going back to Power Level 9K, what we want to do is change our theme to say that we want to use the Power Level 9K. So I'll modify this value and change it to the Power Level 9K / Power Level 9K. This is the string that was given to us on the wiki page that we want to set our ZSH theme to. Now, all we've got to do is come back out of the ZSH config file, and all we have to do now to have our ZSHRC file changes take effect is simply with the source command. And that'll reload the config file and load in our new values. And now, as you can see here, we've got a completely new prompt, right? We've got our username, the @ symbol, and the host name for whatever host machine you're on, the current directory that you're on as well as the status of the last command. If the last command returned, I believe, an exit code aside from 0, it'll show that the last command failed, the line number of the last command, and the time of the last command. Now, I customize this a bit further and take away the right side of the prompt and add a few things. So let's go through that and see how we can customize the actual prompt and what sections are shown here. So if we go back to the GitHub page for Power Level 9K, there's a couple of pages that are really helpful. The first one is stylizing your prompt. And this page gives you an idea of a lot of the different configuration options that you can put in for having inside your ZSHRC file. And so it's worth it to take a look through here and find all of the different options that you have. But in this tutorial, I'll just be walking you through how to get your prompt to look like what I use on a day-to-day basis. And the next section that's really useful for configuring Power Level 9K is that just on the bottom of the home page for the GitHub page, you can see that there's the stylizing your prompt as well as customizing prompt segments and available prompt segments. This is where it shows you all of the built-in available prompt segments that you can use within your prompt. And there's also user developed ones that are available that you can use, but these are all the ones that come out of the box. And so you'll see that it's really easy to configure the prompt and put in certain segments that you want or take out other ones. They're all available and listed right here for you to see. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and paste in section by section the lines from my normal configuration file that I have, and we'll walk through how the changes actually affect the prompt and what they're actually doing. So the first one that I want to put in is the power level 9K prompt add new line and on new line. Now, what this will do is actually add in a new line for where you're going to be typing, and also add a new line after the output of your command is run. And now back at our prompt, we will make our changes take effect again. So what we can see here is we've got a new line for where we're going to type on our prompt, and we've also got a new line now for after any of the output from the command that we've issued is displayed. We've got this extra space here. And for me, I just like it a little bit better for just having readability and things be more spread out. So the next thing I'm going to actually put in is, and I've got gedit open here so we can just go back and forth a little bit easier. And I've got the actual segments that are going to be displayed within the prompts. And so what you can see here is we're telling it that on the right prompt, we don't want to have any elements. And on the left prompt, we want to have the OS icon, the user, followed by the host, followed by a new line, meaning the next segment in the prompt is going to be on a new line. We're going to have the current directory, as well as any of the version control information. So any of your Git status or your SVN stuff, that'll all be displayed on the prompt. So let's go ahead and save this and reload our prompts. And we can see that we've got a different prompt now. We've got what will be the OS icon, our username, as well as our host, as well as the current directory. And if we were to go into a directory that has Git information, we can see that there's actually the status of the Git repository displayed here. If it was behind, you would see that. If it had new changes that needed to be committed, you could see all of that. A really useful thing to see at a glance when you're traversing the directories within your shell. Now, let's address the fact that we don't actually have an icon here. Now, the reason for this is because Power Level 9K supports many different kind of fonts to use for their icons, and we're using nerd fonts, so we actually have to go and tell the Power Level 9K theme that we're using nerd fonts. So let's do that now. So that's pretty easy. We have a configuration line that we can also add for that, which is just saying that we want to set the Power Level 9K mode to nerd font complete. And if we save this and go ahead and reload our prompts, you can see that now we've got all of these icons being displayed properly. Now, the last thing that we'll be configuring is the colors, and of course this is completely up to personal preference, but I'm just going to show you the configuration I use. Okay, so what we'll be doing is just coming in here, I'm going to paste in the colors that I have for my configuration. Now, you can look in the GitHub page for Power Level 9K of exactly what value to use to configure which parts of the prompts, but it allows you to do a ton of different stuff with customizing everything that you want. You can set the foreground, the background, as well as different colors for when things are in different status. So if you're a root user, it'll show a different background than if you were a regular user. And you can see different version control colors based on what the status of the version is. And so one really helpful thing that they actually provide within the styling your prompt section, if we go there real quick, you can see they give you a command to be able to run to see what colors correspond to which number for your configuration. So right here is the command that you're looking to run. And if you copy this command and run it in your terminal, what it's going to do is actually display the 255 colors that are available for your terminal usage and show you what number it is and what the color will actually look like. So you can use that to get the color numbers that I use there, and of course it's going to depend upon your system and what colors you have available. So we've saved this now, and let's go ahead and reload our configuration file. And you can see that our colors have now changed. We've got slightly different backgrounds for each of these spots, the white text here and the black text keeping here. But you can go through the configuration file that I've provided here and tweak things to how you like them. Like I said, this is all personal preference. This just happens to be the colors that I use for my prompt. Now, the last thing that we have to do is customize the color of the terminal. I personally hate the background of Ubuntu, the purple color that they use here. Now, this will depend upon what terminal you're using, how to change the color, but for GNOME terminal, we'll just walk through it here. And if you just right-click with inside the terminal and go to Profile Preferences, we'll see a box here where we can go to Colors. And we just deselect the Use Colors from System Theme, and we can make our own colors that we want to use. We're going to keep all of these as a default palette, but we'll change the text to be white on the black background. And also, instead of using the transparency from System Theme, we'll use the transparent background, dial that back a little bit, and now we've got something that pretty closely resembles what I use for day-to-day stuff with my prompt with ZSH and Power Level 9K. So now that we've got our prompt set up and we've got all this information at our fingertips because of the customizations we did, let's start to actually look at some of the cool stuff that we can do with ZSH and how we can improve our workflow with the tools that are available to us.